Alrighty, guys, welcome to the show of shows. Time to get the party started, guys. We're going to be talking about the ongoing clash, the battle between grand supremacy of leadership for the state of Georgia. David Perdue and Brian Kemp literally battling each other to see who's going to be on top for the governor of Georgia. More on this topic, guys. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's rock.
Rated mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. Broadcasting from the Big Peach of Atlanta, Georgia. A show unfiltered, unscripted, raw. The Patriot Angle Podcast. Alrighty, guys, welcome. Thank you, producer Eric, for cueing in the birdies in the background. Always love the birdies, right? You can hear them, guys. The little birdies singing in the background, yeah. I'm in a good mood, as you can hear, guys, on the show. Today we're talking about Kemp and Brian Perdue, or excuse me, I got that backwards. I do have it backwards, don't I, Eric? Brian Kemp and David Perdue, there we go, right, are now clashing over the 2020 election results at Georgia. GOP governor's debate. Yeah. Did everybody see that debate? That was not too long ago, actually. Just yesterday, Sunday night, where just in Atlanta they had this debate where Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and former Senator David Perdue literally were clashing over the results of the 2020 election during the state's GOP governor's debate just last night, blaming each other for Democratic gains in the last election cycle. Now, folks, this marked for the first primary debate between Perdue, whose most prominent supporter is former President Donald Trump, and Kemp, who the former president says betrayed him for refusing to help him overturn his defeat in 2020. That's what the media is saying. They're proclaiming that Trump was trying to use Kemp as a leverage in the general election just a short 2 years ago, right? This is, crap that, mainstream is trying to put out. Literally, trying to put out. Well, literally they're saying that there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud in any state during the 2020 election, which I find to be very, very fascinating, folks, because you can clearly see the amount of evidence of voter fraud just 2 years ago during the election between Trump and Biden. Huge amounts of voter fraud, right? Videos upon videos, pictures upon pictures of voter fraud, literally. Now, with that being said, guys, Perdue returned to the subject, a central theme of his campaign, several times throughout the honoring debate. and argued that Kemp did not do enough to challenge the state election results, which he didn't, folks. He didn't do enough. Didn't do a damn thing about it. Just sat there in his governor's mansion while all the fraud in his state was literally taking place. I mean, clearly. Now, while this was all going down, we've seen that Raphael Warnock won the special election for the state's other Senate seat, giving Democrats a majority in the chamber. Now, their wins in the January 2021 runoffs, paired with President Joe Biden's victory, supposedly, over Trump in the Peach State, made Georgia central to Republican efforts to challenge the election. Right? Now, the efforts that the Republicans tried to draw out didn't win in their favor because Biden still was called the victor in the last election. Now, a lot has changed since 2020, folks. A lot. And we can clearly see that. You know, with corruption, with lies of COVID, with this, with that. We're clearly seeing that, folks. Clearly seeing it. Now, I want to make something well known that Trump has endorsed and vigorously supported Perdue in an attempt to get back at Kemp. Supposedly, that's what's going on. For refusing to help him overturn his defeat. This is the crap that CNN is putting out, right? CNN Politics. They even have a freaking video. CNN report saying that 2020 election is still the big motivator for many Trump supporters. This is the crap that they put out, folks. Literally. This is the garbage. Now, Kemp had said in a response to Perdue's line of attack Sunday that he had no authority to challenge the election results. No. He may not have authority, but as a governor of a major difference maker, meaning the state of Georgia in the last election, he does have the authority to bring up to questioning if there may have or may have not been voter fraud. That is the question that he does have. The authority to question it. Did he question any of it? Nope. Didn't do a damn thing. Now, here's something that, he took repeated shots at. Perdue's loss to Orzoff. I was Secretary of State for 8 years, and I don't need to be lectured by someone who lost his last election, he said. The Georgia governor also defended himself as best positioned to defeat the Democrat Stacey Abrams in November, promising to make sure she is never your governor and your next president. I do agree with that. The woman is evil. Evil in so many ways. Now, folks, there's only one person who's beaten Stacey Abrams, and that's me. Kemp had said just last night at the debate between Perdue and Kemp himself. Now, Kemp also said, referring to his first campaign for governor in 2018, when he narrowly defeated Abrams, there's only one reason I'm not in the United States Senate, is because you crave in and gave the elections to Stacey and to the liberal Democrats in 2020. And he had quote this. Now, Perdue also accused Kemp of passing the blame onto others and said that it made him weak. It made him more of a weak leader. And then they went back and forth with this, that Kemp immediately returned the attack, saying that weak leaders blame everyone or everybody else for their own losses instead of blaming themselves, he said. That is true. I will agree with Brian Kemp on that, and we're clearly seeing that out of the Biden administration. Clearly seeing it. Right? I mean, if you can't see that...
It's another day, and anything could happen. Only Comcast Business's secure network solutions give you the power of SD-WAN and advanced security integrated on our Active Core platform, so you can control your network from anywhere. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
The presidential election was rigged and stolen.
The big lie is still the big motivator for many Republican voters.
We're insurrectionists, we're traitors, big lie proponents for asking questions.
The 2022 Michigan State Convention will come to order.
In Michigan, Republicans this weekend overwhelmingly endorsed Christina Caramo, who spread conspiracies about the 2020 election and the January 6th insurrection, to be their nominee for Secretary of State, the state's top political.
I am your worst nightmare.
In the run-up to the midterms, national Republicans say they're focused on the economy, inflation, and crime.
All right, folks, let me stop it right there, okay? Let me stop this right here and explain this, okay? How is this conspiracy theory? How is this causing lies or creating lies to that matter? First of all, as a conservative myself, I don't agree with crooked CNN saying this, right? And this crap coming out of CNN politics, saying that the Republicans are creating lies through their messaging on the 2020 election and everything else, right, in that matter. How is that lies? First and foremost, I must say that if there is a narrative coming out of this, and there are huge narratives, right, with the 2020 election. First of all, I can understand that the lies that, the Republicans are, saying that what happened, voter fraud. I can see all that. For example, what did they use during the 2020 election? Mail-in ballots. How is that voter integrity, right? How? There's no verification process in that. That could be labeled the biggest fraud scenario to begin with. More of this crap, guys. Check this out.
But in Republican primaries, the magic words are Donald Trump, and the litmus test is denying the results of the 2020 presidential election without any evidence of widespread fraud.
Christina Caramo. She is a fearless champion for election integrity.
In Colorado, State Representative Ron Hanks, an election denier running for U.S. Senate with an ad featuring footage from the January 6th insurrection.
Restore grassroots political parties.
Was awarded the top slot on the Republican primary ballot from conservatives at the GOP Assembly. Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters, who faces criminal charges for her alleged role in an election security breach and is running for Colorado Secretary of State.
It's a pleasure to be here to sound the alarm. I'm Tina Peters.
Also won Republicans' backing for top billing on the GOP ballot. In Arizona, home of the infamous Cyber Ninjas review, GOP Senate hopeful and sitting Attorney General Mark Brnovich is getting hammered on the airwaves by other Republicans for his role in certifying the state's 2020 election results.
Mark Brnovich says President Trump is wrong on voter fraud? Really?
In Georgia,
Brian Kemp sold us out and allowed radicals to steal the election.
David Perdue is going after Governor Brian Kemp for certifying the election in 2020 as the two face off in the GOP gubernatorial primary. Putting up election deniers in November could prove risky for the GOP.
The risk is losing.
Republicans.
Yeah, I totally agree. I hope David Perdue literally fires back at Brian Kemp, because he had a choice, guys, to do the right thing. Weak leaders are prime example of what Brian Kemp has orchestrated back in 2020, 2 years ago. Literally. Now, speaking to CNN following the debate, Perdue said that he exposed a weak governor, Kemp. Meanwhile, declined to answer CNN's questions as he left the debate site at the WSB TV studio in Midtown Atlanta. Now, let me tell you something. Declining to answer CNN's questions, right? There's a reason behind that, because you know exactly what's going to happen, folks. They're going to get into this whole, ordeal like, why are you spreading misinformation about Brian Kemp? And Brian Kemp doesn't have the authority as a governor to question the 20. You're damn right he does. To an extent, he does. If there was foul play in his state as a governor, as a state leader, you're damn right he has the authority. What do you think? He should just step back and just let everything just happen? I mean, seriously, come on, folks. Enough is enough already, right?
The debate was held in Midtown Atlanta. Perdue, who has former President Donald Trump's endorsement, accused Kemp of failing to investigate allegations of voter fraud after the 2020 election in Georgia. Both Kemp and Perdue released statements claiming victory of the debate. Kemp's statement reads in part, quote, "Tonight, Georgians saw why Governor Kemp continues to lead in both the GOP primary and general election polls." While former Senator Perdue spent an hour telling hollow lies about the governor's record, Governor Kemp remained laser-focused on reminding Georgians how he has delivered on his promises since taking office, end quote. And David Perdue's statement reads in part, quote, "Tonight, David Perdue clearly demonstrated that Brian Kemp is a weak governor who divided our party and cannot win in November. A clear difference in this election emerged. Brian Kemp believes Joe Biden won the election fair and square. With President Trump's endorsement and an army of grassroots supporters, Perdue will win this primary and defeat Abrams in the fall," end quote. Kemp and Perdue will meet 2 more times before the May 24th primary. The next debate will happen later this week in Savannah.
You know, folks, this is going to be an interesting, a primary runoff, between these two leaders. I strongly believe that, Perdue does have a strong uphold on Kemp. He does. But dividing the party, comments that were made from Perdue towards Kemp, I believe that. I believe that, Kemp has basically been, portraying more of a rhino than an actual Republican, and, they're so quick to dismiss the facts that happened in 2020. No one wants to hear it. Mainstream doesn't want to air it on their networks. Every time that the issue or the topics come up, mainstream just literally tucks it under the rug. They don't want to literally discuss it.
Learn about crypto and get paid as you learn with Coinbase Earn. We've paid out over $100 million in crypto rewards since Coinbase Earn launched in 2018. To start earning, just watch short videos, answer simple questions about what you've seen, and get rewarded. Get started today on Coinbase.com/earn.
Today is the last day to register to vote in Georgia's May 24th primary. You can register to vote by mail, in person at your local elections office, or online. Now, we are counting down to the primary, which is now less than 1 month away. Yesterday, Governor Brian Kemp and his opponent, former U.S. Senator David Perdue, clashed during a debate. Our Brooke Butler has statements from both campaigns about who came out on top.
The debate was held in Midtown Atlanta. Perdue, who has former President Donald Trump's endorsement, accused Kemp of failing to investigate allegations of voter fraud after the 2020 election in Georgia.
Yeah. Now, here's more of that, folks. I'm plugging away the sound effects, the video plugins here to the show, because I really want to elaborate just some of the crap that was orchestrated in this election, folks. It was really, really bizarre where you have two Republican, leaders, such as Perdue and David Perdue and Brian Kemp, that squared off last night in Midtown Atlanta, right? The debate about the election integrity that was held in the state of Georgia, primarily in the city of Atlanta, where Perdue literally said to Kemp in the debate, "Why aren't you taking this matter seriously? I think you owe it to the American public." Yeah, without a doubt, folks. Without a doubt. Now, the Republican governor debate, right, mainly focused, like I said, about election fraud claims that happened in 2020, which still mainstream will not touch on. They won't touch on any of this crap. And it's sad, and it sickens the hell out of me, where we have an actual leader such as Brian Kemp that is failing the integrity of the people of Georgia. Check more of this stuff out, guys. I mean, this is terrible. Terrible stuff. Terrible.
You have both bickered back and forth about what should have been done, who hasn't been prosecuted, who should have been prosecuted, who did this, who did that. What evidence, factual evidence, can you present to our viewers tonight that there was voter fraud should have been prosecuted?
Thank you. I'm glad somebody asked that question finally, because most people in the media have already assumed the close on that. There's a court case in Georgia right now brought by a group of women. These are voters in Georgia, in Fulton County. You have evidence of fraudulent ballots, evidence of ballots that were run redundantly. You have missing batches, 161 missing batches. He certified this election in Fulton County alone. They're missing 16,000 ballots. They didn't look at the signatures in Fulton County and DeKalb County, where we already talked about the nefarious activity. But the most egregious to me is the fact that there were 36 errors on the Secretary of State's website that was not even looked at. He had sent one letter to the Secretary of State about one small piece of that. Just the first two were material and might have changed the outcome of the election. But the last thing, and this is the most visible right now, since May of last year, they have seen the evidence. He and the GBI head saw the evidence of ballot trafficking, ballot harvest. This is indisputable. It's corroborated by bank records, by testimony, by video, and also by cell phone data. He's not only tried to suppress that, he's tried to cover it up, and he fought the individuals trying to bring this to light and get the truth. This is what I'm talking about. They double talk this all the time. Oh, it was a clean. He said it was a clean election. He denies anything happened.
I never say that. I have never said that. Ever.
Well, do you tonight think it was a clean election?
I've never said it was a clean election. You're putting words in my mouth.
Well, the difference between you and me, excuse me, I'm not done yet. The difference between you and me is the fact that you think that John Ossoff and Biden won fair and square. That's the difference between the two of us. You're telling the people in Georgia that that's what the truth is, and you want us to swallow that and move on.
Well, let me remind you, I can speak for myself, and that's not what I said. I've always said there's fraud in every election. And when I was Secretary of State, I went after it. I didn't say there wasn't problems in this election. Look, I was as frustrated as anybody else. That's why we passed the strongest election integrity act in the country, because a lot of things that were done by other people, like drop boxes being approved by the state board elections. I'm sure you're going to blame me for that later on. But the point is, a special session would have done nothing to solve this problem.
Oh, a special session wouldn't have done nothing to solve the damn problem? Folks, let's set the stone clear on the tablet, okay? Kemp is dirty to the core. He's been dirty since this whole damn ordeal came around. I never really supported Kemp at all. I thought he was a shady politician to begin with, more of a fucking rhino than a damn Republican, okay? You have a man by the name of David Perdue, excuse me, that's challenging the damn debate, saying that the 2020 election was not looked at thoroughly the way it should have been looked at, excuse me. They should have looked at the voter turnout thoroughly. It wasn't looked at responsibly. You had mail-in ballots that were literally dumped overnight. You had ballots that were still being counted after the voting process was said to close. You actually had locations, folks, still counting and accepting ballots after the closed locations were supposed to close. Now, if you're telling me there's nothing wrong with that, what the hell democracy have we become? Seriously. I mean, this is disgusting. Literally. This is the most honest and open election. My ass it was. Folks, let's set the stone correctly. It's time to understand where all this is going.
Alexa, it's game day.
Streaming football on Prime Video. Closing blinds. Chilling rosé. Rosé?
Well, it's an afternoon game.
Huh? It's like she can read your mind. Your mind. I love that we get to sleep at night. Ordering fresh mint mouthwash. Extra strength.
I'm thinking I should get a spray tan, you know, because that's on Wednesday.
Activating blender.
Funeral's on Monday.
What about the gold, Papa? Can't you see that treasure all along? It was here.
Love the eye patch. When does the show open?
March 8th. Setting reminder to fake your own death on March 8th.
What the?
When you have to do those love scenes with hot guys, is that fun or is that like the worst?
It's the worst.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
This bread's delicious.
Oh, God.
Did you make it?
Yes, it's from my Gammy's recipe. Announcement. Gammy is short for she bought it at Whole Foods. Announcement. Colin left the oysters in the car for 5 hours.
It's probably better Alexa can't read your mind.
Bad idea.
Watch the game.
Now, here's one question here I want to ask everybody before I close out the show today, okay? You know, why aren't we talking more about the 2020 election more closely instead of talking about crap that we shouldn't talk about, right? The stuff that the mainstream media is touching on, it's a waste of airtime, if you ask me. We should be really getting down to the bottom of this. We're 2 years now into this new administration, right? A lot of people saying that there was voter fraud. I strongly believe it. I strongly believe, and you can call me a conspiracy theorist and, you know, I'm sharing misinformation and this and that. I strongly believe, folks, that COVID was used more for political gain than an actual pandemic. I strongly believe, because I mean, if it was so serious, why all of a sudden is a lot of different things such as transit, right? Transit companies are just miraculously dropping the mask mandates. You can basically go into stadiums filled with thousands of fans, right? Concerts, sporting events. You can go into these stadiums and packed arenas without a mask. Now, that didn't take too long. Hell, you could do that last summer, in the middle of the damn pandemic, and there was no issue. If you don't think that COVID was created for political gain, question it a little bit more. No time in our history were mail-in ballots ever created for a major election such as the general election. Now, mail-in ballots do exist, don't get me wrong, but mainly for absentee type of status, whether you're in the military or you happen to not be in the state at the time of an election. You're vacationing, right? There is still voter integrity right there. There's verification, ID, this and that. This last election, folks, they didn't check ID. You could sign your name on anything. You could be signing your name to saying your name is Scott when your name is really Roger, right? You get the drift, right? This is exactly what went down 2 years ago. And I applaud David Perdue for challenging the issue, because no Republican out there is really challenging it at all. Another prime example, Michael Pence, the former vice president, had the chance to challenge this. He failed. Literally failed. Literally forfeited and said, I give up. Is that a strong leader? Is that a vice president? No, I don't think it is. Because any strong leader would challenge the effect if he's seen that there was voter fraud. And I know damn well that he probably seen that there was some type of evidence or some type of matter to even check into it to begin with. But no. He didn't have the backbone or the balls to even challenge it. Now, this debate that was last night, right, in Midtown Atlanta for the Georgia gubernatorial race, right, mainly focused on the voter fraud claims. Now, even though I will admit to this on the air, lagging in the polls, Perdue appealed to his base, hammering away at the 2020 election, which he called rigged and stolen. I completely agree with that. Completely agree with it. Despite mainstream media, such as CNN and other networks similar to that, are saying that they have no evidence to back that claim. There's a lot of evidence. Where are you getting your news at? There's videos upon pictures of all this, folks. All this. It's all on the internet. Now, more to it. And Kemp fired back, folks, literally at Perdue, saying that he was looking for a scapegoat for his own loss in January 2021 with the runoff to Democrat Jon Ossoff, which helped shift control of the U.S. Senate to Democrats. Now, Kemp earned Trump's wrath after he refused to intervene in overturning the Georgia election results. He wasn't trying to overturn anything. That's the fucking media they love using these terminology type of talk points. He was trying to overturn. Trump was trying to use Kemp to overturn the Georgia voting system. He tried to do it. Oh my God, what kind of leader? This is what they talk about. This is the type of crap that gets basically broadcasted into our American politics system. Right? Seriously. Terrible. And then Perdue shot back and said that you're the top cop in this state. It's your responsibility to make sure we investigate voter fraud. Yeah. Now, here's one thing that basically Kemp had asked, right? A little silly statement, if you ask me. When we were riding on the bus and I was campaigning for you in the runoff, did you ever ask me about having a special session? Kemp asked that. And then, of course, I did. Perdue replied back. And then they went back and forth. Kemp insisted, no, you did not. Now, folks, here's the main question as I close this out, right? The question I have to ask is, when we have elections, which are the most important part of our democracy, they are the most important part of our democracy. When we have elections, are we going to allow this type of third world erratic behavior? Because if we allow it, does our voice actually matter in a general election? Does it? That's the $1 million question. Does our voice actually matter? Well, you could be the one to solve that or answer that yourself. I know what happened, and I know this election was stolen and rigged beyond its limits. And that's my closing. You just heard an episode of the Patriot Angle podcast. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon Music, and Audible. Also streaming live on Twitch. Remember to follow and like us, guys, for unfiltered, uncensored, raw content. Also, please head over to www.patriotanglepodcast.com for all your exclusive Patriot Angle podcast content and material, as well as the merchandise website, www.patriotunfiltered.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.